Good evening, one and all, and welcome in to the Formula Racing League's GT3 Masters Season 11. Tonight, it's the penultimate race, round 6 of 7, and heading to the center of Dutch racing. It's Zandvoort for this penultimate race of the season. Apologies for the slightly late getaway today. A couple of little minor technical issues getting slightly in the way of us getting started on time, but we will be getting out on track to see qualifying happening. 15 minutes is happening right now. Will be done in about 9 minutes with a combined grid today of both the pro and silver drivers. So it's the sprint really now towards the final round next week. Of course, I mentioned for our sponsors, it is Pure Sim Gear, and they are dedicated to designing the best sim racing gear out there on the market. They have kindly provided prizes, which we will talk about during the race, for the winners of the categories here in GT3 Masters. So check them out online. And of course, they have a special deal for friends of FRL. You can use the code Friends of FRL15 for a discount at checkout. But it is my pleasure to be in the commentary box tonight, and on behalf of John Wright, who has been commentating on the vast majority of Season 11, my name is George Cook, making a return to GT3 Masters and FRL on behalf of Raven Comms, and a pleasure it is to be back in this wonderful FRL commentary box for Season 11. I'll be here for your race today at Zandvoort. As you can see on there, the schedule, only one race to go after this. That's at Indianapolis on the 14th of December, so make sure you tune in for that, because it's going to be a fantastic end to this season. And of course, coming to you live this time on YouTube, which is always good fun, and I always like broadcasting on YouTube. I really do enjoy it. And we've been previously live, of course, on the old twitch.tv platform, but tonight it is YouTube, and we have to admit, it is very, very nice. So we will be going out on track soon, because we don't want to miss too much of qualifying and what's going over there. But first, we're going to talk quickly about the weather out on track, and it's not looking particularly great out there. I'm going to be honest with you all. It's pretty cold and it's pretty overcast out there for all the chaps, the ladies and gentlemen driving today. It's about somewhere, which will be a bit later in the day, so the race will be starting at about 10 p.m. Out in Zandvoort. Stable-ish weather for the most part, dry, about 12 degrees Celsius out there, so I wouldn't call it exactly warm. Usually you do get some pretty warm weather at Zandvoort, but today it's going to be cold, cold, cold. Nice offshore wind blowing in from the beach that resides very close to Zandvoort. Lovely area of the Dutch Northland, and we'll be talking about circuits soon as well. We're hoping that the ambient temperature does get up a little bit, maybe to 15 degrees Celsius, but at the moment it doesn't look like it's going to be that way. A strong wind coming in, plenty of cloud out there, and potential for a bit of rain today, so we will indeed see. Now over to our standings to jump through this very quickly, because it is the penultimate round, and that does mean that we are going to be into the final parts of both the pro and silver categories. Krzysztof Szczecki is leading us away in the pro categories. As you can see, 4 wins under his belt in round 1, 2, 3, and 4. A bit of an issue out there at Alton Park last week, getting only 5th place. Of course, that will be his drop round for the season as well, so 302 points, and really stamping his identity on the pro category. Alex Zakdal taking out P2. Couple of bit of a slow start in this season, sadly, but he did get a win last time out, and I've been looking at the timing sheets. He's been a quick contender today. And then we've got Benjamin Eck as well, who is leading up in 3rd place for the pro category. Over to silver for the top 3. And we do have the wonderful Michael Firth leading us away in that category. Some mixed results there. 1 win under his belt, 255 points. And close on his heel, Martin Ulrich as well, who's got 1 win at the start of the season. Has dropped off slightly. A terrible result in round 3. That will be dropped. 242 points for him. And then 3rd place it is Marco Vella, who's on 225 points and in the charge. So Zandvoort, very close to the beach, of course. For those of you who don't know, it is a fantastic circuit, founded in 1948, located in Zandvoort in the Netherlands. 14 corners, 4 to the left, 10 to the right, 9 meters of elevation across the entire 2.6-mile circuit. 75 years of history here in the North Holland of a part of the country. Zandvoort, a wonderful part of town. Of course, Formula One goes here, Dutch Grand Prix, the GT World Challenge Europe, and DTM all participating. The fastest real-world lap here in the GT3 cars, a 134.111 by Jules Gounon in the Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo at the 2022 Zandvoort GT World Challenge Europe Sprint Cup on the 19th of June. So some pretty quick times out there, some pretty quick contenders out on track as well. Now, of course, we do have the split category. We're going to go out on track now, 10 minutes remaining in this qualifying. The split category does mean that the silver drivers do go out first for their qualifying, then the pro drivers will then go out. So leading us away at the moment, this man on your screen right now, he's doing fantastically well in this Aston Martin. The Aston Martins, of course, are looking pretty strong under the new LFM BOP. And that is something that FRL has decided to adopt as well. SimGrid now providing a default server for their option for their servers to include the LFM BOP, because it's just been creating such amazing racing on every league that uses it. And it does bring in these slightly older models into the territory of competitiveness, which is fantastic to see. But Ulrich right now leading us away. He's set a 134.797 out on track at the moment and looking to go a little bit faster than that, I suspect. This could be good enough to put him up close-ish towards the top of the line. He is coming into the pits now, unfortunately. And second place at the moment, Michael Firth, and doing well as well. He's going to come into the pits too. So the qualifying is split, of course, in half. That does mean you've got about 7.5 minutes for the silver category. And then the pro drivers will be able to go out of the pit lane in about a minute or so. Third place, it is Casatarash. He's back in the pits already for the FRL racing team. He's in the Ferrari today and doing pretty well too. Most of the silver drivers have come back into the pits. We've got Novak out on track at the moment, currently sitting P6. Not improving on his time as it stands right now, but going through turns 7, 8, and 9, or just coming up to turn 10 now, which is familiarly named as Bocht 10, which, if you didn't know, in Dutch, Bocht means turn or corner, bend. In fact, I think is the literal translation there. The Bend 10 is quite literally what it's called, which I do like. So if you ever look at the circuit names around here at Zandvoort or even Zolder, you will see that a lot of them are either prepended, or appended, I should say, with the word Bocht, and that is bend. So box 9, box 10, technically unnamed corners according to my track map here, and that does mean just turns 10 and turns 9. But a brilliant layout here for those of you who aren't unfamiliar with this circuit. You are missing out on some great racing, because this place produces some absolutely epic on-track racing. These will be the last of the silver drivers to go out for their laps with 8 minutes on the clock. So this is the last lap they'll be doing. The pro drivers will be out soon as well. 29 total on the grid at the moment. And it does appear that there's somewhere in the order of about 16 silver drivers out there. So that'll be about 13 of the pro category drivers sitting in for the penultimate round before they head over to the Americas. And look in the background, those are some pretty nasty little clouds. This is why I've been a little bit worried about the rain coming in. Zandvoort in the wet is incredibly fun to watch, but very, very scary to drive around. And as you can see there, the runoff areas are very, very close. Sparks being blown around the track as the underside of this BMW makes contact with the tarmac underneath. But Manuel Novak, so that's unfortunately compromised his lap there, so he will not be going and improving. Now we've got the pro category drivers out on track. Our championship leader in pro class, Krzysztof Stachecki here, a well-known name in the FRL leagues. He's back in his oh-so-familiar McLaren 720S Evo. It's a strong contender, actually, this car around this track, even with the BOP changes, where I think I might be mistaken by this, but I am fairly sure that they have about a 30 kg negative ballast on the McLaren, because it is just such a quick car at circuits like this. Got great handling, ability to turn the front of that car in, got great pickup on the a nice aggressive setup on here, and it'll really throw you into the corners. It'll really help you out, and that's brilliant around here. Lots of low and medium to medium high speed corners at a circuit like this. Big braking zones, of course, down into turn 1 as well, which always gets a bit of fun. We'll stay on board for a lap here with this man, because he is going around the circuit, and we'll try and catch all the circuit names, corner names that we can. So going through Tarzan through turn 1 into these complicated S's here, Gerlach and Hugenholt. A really tricky, slightly off camber corner here. So go through, bump on the exit as well. Got to be careful about getting on the power, but you've got to get on the power early because you're leading into this flat out section here through the S's of Hunsuag and into Slootmaker in turn 6. Now we've got a nice fast braking zone here. Slam on the brakes slightly, roll the car through right-hander as we go. Watch the runoff on the exit of the corner. That was turn 7 into Masters now. Another very tricky corner. Get that one right and you're going to line yourself nicely up for the hard braking zone here. Late apex into turn 9. You can run a bit wide there, not too wide, because you want to jump back over to the right-hand side of the circuit into turn 10. Again, another late apex style corner. Watch the grass on the exit of that runoff. It will cost you time. Onto the straight down we go to the infamous turn 11 and then turn 12. Hard on the brake once again, get it turned in, and then you've got to slide around this corner. Use all the apex speed you possibly can. There will be grip there because it is a cambered corner. And now finally over into Kumho here in turn 13. A lovely flowing section at the end of this track. If you get it lined up correctly, you can be flat out all the way through the final part of the corner and onto the main straight. A little bit wide there for Krzysztof, unfortunately for him. And we do have a great lap there from Krzysztof. Does a 1:34.262, at 0.15 of a second off of the ultimate time here for the real world GT3 class. But Stachecki straight to the top. Bisoglio here in his Ferrari doing very nicely as well. Another fast contender. Then Thomas Nopek in his Mercedes, the 88 car. Third place at the moment. And you've got to put this in perspective for Martin Ulrich, who's a silver driver. He's in the pits now, of course. He won't be participating in the rest of qualifying as it is right now, but he is 4th place still. So that 1:34.797, I told you that was a fast time in these conditions. 13 degrees track temperature right now, so there's not a lot of grip to be playing with the temperatures of the tires, not wanting to get up into the range that they usually operate in. So Martin Ulrich has put in a fantastic lap there. Even Alex Zakdal, who's running up there in the championship points, win last time out at the Alton Park for this man right here. Also running the Aston Martin for the FRL racing team. He's on a bit of a better lap this time, 0.3 of a second delta positive, and that will put him up into the ranges of the top 3 positions. So we will see. I think Stachecki's just had a little bit of an issue as well. He might just be slowing down in preparation for another hot lap out there. Got a few cars in behind him as well, so he's got to make sure he is putting in the times. Keenan has just gone up into P4, and D'Angelo has also done that. So Porsche up into the top 5. You love to see it, and it's a great livery on there. The SBQ Racing Team entry, and the 57 car runs a little bit deep though at turn 1. Tarzan. Got to be very careful about that. You kind of want to V off that corner at turn 1. Tricky to do so. Very high speed entry into the corner, and you really want to hold the speed into the apex. Lots of trail braking involved in a circuit like this. And I mentioned the weather again. It's looking pretty average out there. No rain on the horizon as it stands right now. And welcome into chat, Alan Brown. Evening, everyone. Let's have a good race tonight. Couldn't agree more. Let's have a good one, and I hope everyone has a good time racing in this penultimate race, round 6 of 7 in this season 11 of the GT3 Masters. We've got the rookies running simultaneously on the channel as well, and you absolutely love to see that. FRL branching out into YouTube at the moment. A whole bunch of series upcoming as well as we end the 2023 year of racing and move into the 2024 season, which will start, I think, sometime in late or mid-January. So keep an eye out on that, of course, on the Discord. SimGrid.com as well, FRL. Type it in and you will end up finding yourself in the right area to look at what's coming up in the Formula Racing League's calendar going forward. Less than 2 minutes now on the clock. And this man right here, Thomas Nopek, he's finding some time out there. Gone purple in Sector 1. As he comes up into turn 3. Looks pretty tidy there for the Mercedes from Mad Panda Motorsport. My favorite liveries on the grid. I do love my Pandas. And I do love this livery schema. It's very aggressive. And on the Mercedes, it always looks absolutely fantastic. Flat out we go, and then into the very medium, well, I guess it's technically a high-speed corner there of Scheivlak in turn 7, the end of those flat-out S's. And it looks like he's got that turned in quite nicely. Nearly dips a couple of extra tires onto the grass there. Not ideal, but he's still finding time. The question is, can he hold that through this last sector? very, very tricky part of that course to navigate. Of course, we do have the FRL timing sheets available at pitwall.live/timing/FRL. So if you want to keep up to date with the timings out there, get a track map up in a separate window and all that, please do check out pitwall.live. And of course, we do have live stewards here for the Season 11 GT3 Masters, as well as our live broadcast tonight here on YouTube. So it's a pleasure bringing you all the action. 38 seconds remaining in qualifying, so Nopek will get another lap, but he's lost all that time through Sector 3, and that's exactly what I was worried about, because it's easy to gain the time earlier on, but this last harder section, very, very tricky to navigate. Stachecki still leading us away in P1 right now. Martin Ulrich has been pushed down nearly out of the top 10. Not really a huge surprise there, because these pro drivers are very, very quick. Louis Pifavias here for NRE Racing. Of course, a man who I'm sure is very familiar with the Zandvoort circuit, a Dutchman himself. He's out there in P7 right now in the 211 Ferrari. So previously, in previous seasons, this man right here has been up there challenging for the lead of the Silver Championship. Unfortunately, season 10 for him didn't end really as he had planned. This will be his last lap. And unfortunately for him, it was not a good one, so he'll be jumping into the pits. No one really out there improving at the moment. These track conditions, while they are optimum, very, very cool out there. I don't think anyone's really found the window for these tires just yet, or they're just not able to get the temperature in the tires that they necessarily need to really bring the window that these cars operate in. So no one really finding time out there. Terence Keenan has just dipped his toe into a 0.1 positive delta, and then he's lost it on exit. Very typical of McLaren's. 3 cars left out on track. This man, the 128 car and the 57 car, everyone else has returned to the pits and is getting themselves ready for the race ahead. Will there be an improvement here? Last few corners for Keenan. Still not finding time out on track, but these 34.3 times that is time on the board at the moment. He's only 63 hundredths of a second away from P1. And this could be good if he can just scrape a little bit of time. No, I think he's realized that he's not going to be improving. Nopek and Stachecki are in the pits as well. D'Angelo coming round. Session has ended now. So this lap will, unfortunately, I don't believe this will actually count. Let's keep an eye. No, it will not. He's not able to get across the line in time. And there we go. That is your qualifying here today. Our top silver runner, Ulrich, Firth and Kasatarash, running in P9, P11, P12 respectively. And then in the pro class, it is Stachecki leading us away and looking to take a 5th victory this season out of 6 races so far, followed by Nopek and Keenan. So 2 McLarens up there in the top 3. 3 McLarens in the top 5. There's 2 Ferraris in the top 10, 2 Aston Martins, 1 Mercedes. So it's a reasonably split grid here, which is nice. You'd love to see it. We will now jump through our grid walk, and I'll try and bring this screen up properly. Let's hit the drive button there. There we go. Issues between commentary viewing screens and the chair, but I will, of course, get that sorted. So leading us away, it is Christoph Stachecki out there on track right now. No rain on the horizon. The temperatures are cooling, though, so that's going to be interesting. Nopek takes P2 here in the Mercedes-AMG, the 88 car. 78 car, Terence Keenan there in the 78 McLaren in P3. Bisoglio was looking fast earlier on, but the Ferrari and the number 26 car will only be good enough for P4 in this race so far. Garby in P5, and I do have to admit, this is a brilliant livery. Absolutely stunning work there from Garby. D'Angelo in the Porsche, the 57 car, takes 6th position, rounding out the 3rd row of our grid. Pifavias takes the beginning of the 4th row here. In P7, Alex Zakdal, not an ideal qualifying for him. He didn't look like he had the pace, unfortunately, in qualifying. Maybe that'll balance out during the race. But he is in P8. P9 is Martin Ulrich leading away our Silver Championship. Well, it's silver drivers, I should say, in this race. He is not currently leading us in the Silver Championship. That would be Michael Firth. But this is a great situation for Martin Ulrich to be in. He's got Martin Firth, who's leading the championship behind him, though. So that is going to be the interesting thing. Gallo here in P10, rounding out the top 10 cars and the 5th row of the grid. Then Michael Firth here, leading our Silver Championship and 2nd in the overall race today. So he'll have to make up a couple of places there and see if he can catch up with Martin Ulrich. Then we've got Kasatarash here for FRL Racing Ferrari. He's in P12. Canton in P13. Sberla in P14 with a very red McLaren. You absolutely love to see it. And we've got Upside Mine 80 in chat saying, "What's up? How's it going, mate? Glad to have you in here." Tassin in the Ferrari here, the number 128 car, another Dutch driver. And he'll be in P15. Gibbons in P16 as we do start our formation lap, of course. Novak in P17. Jadabal in P18. We've got Smith in the 990 McLaren, default livery on this one, P19. Chris Schneider in P20, taking my favorite racing number of 14. Zhuig here, unfortunately for him, not a great qualifying for a pro category driver in the 70 car. Great livery though, that'll be worth a couple of seconds out on track per lap. P22, Longdon. And then we've got Kotke in P23, Packham in P24, Pereira, in P25. And I love this livery. Look at that Tyrannosaurus Rex. Absolutely love that. P16. Vila here in P26, Robinson P27, Vergoe in P28, and Alan Brown, who's been in the chat earlier, in P29. But we will be led away, of course, by Sacheki. They're about halfway through their formation lap right now. So things are going to get very, very interesting out on track. So I think it's about time we can mention a couple of the prizes here for the drivers, which are some fantastic prizes out there today. Not obviously for this race, but for the overall championship in both pro and silver category. The pro winner will receive an awesome pair of gloves and socks, and the silver winner will receive a pair of pro gloves there. So you can see on the screen, of course, check them out, simracinggloves.com, Pure Sim Gear, and offering a bit of a discount as well. FRL Friends of FRL 15 is the checkout code to get your discount. So please do go check out our sponsors of this event. They are doing amazing work and their products are absolutely top of the line as we go side by side and get ready for an hour of racing here. There is one mandatory pit stop for all the drivers to navigate. It's a tricky pit entry, so that will be a challenge for most out there. But the real challenge is going to be the temps at the start of this race into a heavy braking zone. It always gets a little bit tricky down at turn 1 at Tarzan. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on what happens at the beginning of this race. Sacheki from Nopek, from Keenan, as we head through the final corner. Lepre in chat as well. Wow. Did you just call a French guy a Dutch guy? That hurts. That's probably my bad. Yep. Unfortunately, it's a little bit early in the morning here for me, so I apologize to that. That is absolutely my fault. So if I make little mistakes of that, please do forgive me, of course. My fault, and I will happily redact my statements there. I do sometimes get the blue and the white and the red mixed up as we go green out on track for round 7 at Zandvoort for the GT3 Masters here at season 11. Pretty decent start for most on the grid. Into the first braking zone we go. Around the outside is the Man-Powder Racing car of Nopek. Does hold it around the outside, but it will be Sacheki. Got a nose ahead as we go to turn 2. A car off in the background as well. Tricky start to this race, but they do eventually find the single file nature of this, which you do have to do. Oh, bit of action back there. Okay, we've got a big yellow flag out on track. Side by side we went through the carousel section of turn 3, and things do always get tricky on lap 1 with that. Nopek not letting Sacheki get away with it too much. Nearly had it around the outside of turn 1. Fortunately for him, he was not able to make that work in this first part of the race, and Sacheki does lead us away in the race. So it looks like the P15 car, sorry, that's the number 15 car, started from the pit lane or had a major issue. It was part of that chaos down into the carousel section. Really unlucky for him there. Just looking around the grid, there's a few positions gained, a lot lost. Alex Zakdal is down 9 positions in this race already. Melka Gabi down 2. Francois Tassin is up 4 with Jadabal up 4 as well. So a few winning out on the start. Maybe that contact into turn 3 was something to do with it. I suspect that is probably accurate, to be fair. Let's take a look at that yellow flag incident and see what's gone on as we take a little look at the replay. And that's Alex Zakdal getting spun around there by the Ferrari and creating a huge bottleneck. Luckily, the cars behind him did see fit to jump on the brakes. That's really unlucky for Alex Zakdal, and I'm sure he'll be frustrated with that situation. But nonetheless, we continue in this race. Sacheki is under a lot of pressure now through turn 1. Looks like that Mercedes has absolutely got the advantage on the Mercedes through turn 1. But unfortunately for the 88 car, it's just not able to find a way past. Not able to run around the outside. Just a really lack of grip at the outside of turn 1, but 57 minutes left in this race is a long way to go. You can get this move done whenever the opportunity presents itself, but right on the back is Nopek. Will he be able to look into a move, not into the high-speed corner of turn 7, but he might be able to find a way down into turn 8. Unfortunately, he does lose a little bit of time there. Will he go for a send? No. They're going to nicely turn through turn 8. Turn 9, 10, here we go. This is another really good overtaking opportunity. In behind, Keenan holds on to P3 and Bisoglio holds on to P4. D'Angelo in P5 at the moment. Martin Ulrich has had a good start to this race with Alex Dahl dropping down the order. He's jumped up into P8. And it looks like Michael Firth has had a major issue as well, because he is right down the bottom of this race in P25. This is great news for Martin Ulrich. He'll be getting a bunch of points from this. And Michael Firth is going to have a massive recovery to drive to do today in the silver category. Lepria saying great job still. Yes, no, I appreciate that, but mistaking Dutch for French is a crime that is probably worthy of some sort of jail time, maybe relegation for myself to the weather reporting station rather than the commentary box, but I will make sure I don't make those mistakes going forward. Oh, that's a blue flag, bit of traffic there. The lead is trying to get past now. Oh dear, who is that? That's P25, I think. That might be Michael Firth there. Is it? No, this is Barry Gibbons. He's holding up the entire line here. The lead is coming through and getting bottlenecked by this man right here. Through they go. He does manage to pull away and let these chaps through, but that has created all sorts of situations. Bisoglio in the background has managed to get up ahead of Keenan as a result of the concertina effect caused by the blue flag not getting out of the way in a timely manner here. Crikey, that was a dodgy situation, but Szczecki does manage to hold on. Nopek still in the chase. Terence Keenan is off. Keenan's had a massive issue there. Oh, so he's reset to the pits as well, the 78 car. Let's take a look at that on our replay. Oh, he's been tagged by Bisoglio there. He's been tagged slightly as he goes on to the gravel part of the section. But what's happened to him here? Let's have a little look. Can we catch it on the replay maybe? Has he just bended into the high-speed section? Oh, something there has happened. Net code for this man right here, because there was no cars around him at all, and he has been sent off into the barriers, and it looked like there was a ghost car there. Something very, very odd happening with the netcode on the server, and another car obviously involved in that, but the 78 car of Keenan sent flying into the barrier at a corner where that should not happen. Very unfortunate for that man right there. We give him our commiserations. Of course, he'll have to get back out there, I hope, for the 55 minutes remaining in this race. Long way to go. Still able to recover from that. Very unfortunate there. Really, really unfortunate for that man. But these things unfortunately do happen. Fastest lap out on track, and fastest man is this chap we are seeing right now. It is Tomasz Nopek, and he is really putting the pressure on to Szczecki. He's just not really able to find the pace out there on a cold Zandvoort evening. 10 p.m. out on track, so these temperatures are going to continue to cool down over the next 54 minutes of this race. Looking back around the grid, we do have some close battles here for P11. Amir Kasatarash has had I would say a pretty average start for the most part. He is up at the P11 now, has gained a start position or two, but he's under the challenge now from David Canton in the 218 BMW. A fierce looking livery on this. I've got to give it off to this. The FRS racing team here looking absolutely stunning in their BMW. That is a brilliant, brilliant livery. My congratulations to their livery designer. Peter Veers is in 5th place right now, putting the challenge on D'Angelo. But this battle continues to rage. Oh, we've had a change of the lead here. Nopek now up into top position. Fantastic stuff. Apologies, we did unfortunately miss that out on track, but Tomasz Nopek, this man right here, has managed in Sector 2 to find a way past the McLaren. I wonder if there was a little bit of an off-track excursion there for the 144 car of Szczecki. Of course, this is going to be important for the championship standings going forward as we get towards the end of this season, with the penultimate race being here at Zandvoort and the final race being out at Indianapolis in the Americas. Tomasz Nopek, what a move there, and up into the lead he goes. He'll have to try and pull away from Szczecki, and Szczecki will be absolutely desperate to stay on the rear bumper of this Mercedes, because if he does not do that, he is potentially going to be losing out quite a lot of time. Nopek putting in some fantastic lap times out there, 35.545 Last lap there for Sochecki was a 36.167, with his fastest lap being a 135.557. So in terms of fastest lap between them two, very, very close. As you can see, close out on track and close in the times. But yes, it is all up to Sochecki now. He's going to have to do a bit of work wide, a little bit wide into turn 9. He's going to open up the outside line. Defensive goes Nopek into turn 10, but holds the apex beautifully there. Does get the power down very, very cleanly. So this Mercedes looking beautifully tuned for the conditions right now, and handling the lower temps out there very nicely as well. Of course, hats off. Ooh, a little bit of curb there. The Mercedes does eat the curbs very, very nicely. But unfortunately, that was maybe just a little bit too much curb. Taking a look back down the grid, the 802 car here, P16, Kotka, only 0.4 of a second behind Vela, and Vela is very close to Manuel Novak as well, who's up in P14 at the minute. Big winners in this race so far. Alan Brown up 12 positions, started dead last on the grid. He's up to P17 right now. Congratulations to Alan in his Aston Martin. A brave choice, but a competitive choice under the LFM BOP, which is applied here. Marco Vella up 11 positions in this race. He's just ahead of Alan Brown, so those two able to stay out of the action all the way through the grid. Then Lewis Robinson up 9 positions as well. Francois Tassin, though, up 6 positions and up into the top 10. That'll be absolutely brilliant news for that man right there. And then Martin Ulrich leading our Silver Championship right now and doing an incredible job out there on the circuit for McLeod Racing Team. Last lap there was a 136.2, fastest a 36.0, so he's consistent in his pace at the moment, and that's going to be key around a circuit like this. Tyre life is not something they're going to have to be too worried about at the end of the day. And a big spin there. Bisoglio goes off track. The 26 car had a major problem, so let's take a little look at this on the replay. Dips 2 tires. Oh, it's tried to take the high-speed corner a little bit faster, and unfortunately dipped a couple of tires onto the track, and that has sent him off the track, and that has sent him off the track. So tires off the track, car off the track. Really unfortunate for him. He's now down into P8 in this race, under a bit of challenge. Around the outside does go a BMW. We'll try and keep an eye on that throughout this race. Novak had an issue too, down now to, well, still in P14, I should say. Looks like he had Bisoglio come through, so that's why he had that little bit of a slow go there. Bisoglio trying to recover his race now, was running up in P3, and now this man right here is going to be a little bit stressed out, I would say, because he has dropped outside the top 10. New fastest lap on the board, a 34.977 for Nopek, who's now got a 1.0 second lead as the battle for P3 now begins to really rage on between 3 cars, 3 manufacturers, D'Angelo in the Porsche, Pithaviers in the Ferrari, and Gardby looking fierce and quick in his McLaren. Gardby did have a pretty major issue down at the exit of turn 1 on lap 1, where he went off track, and I think he might have been one of the persons involved in creating a little bit of a bottleneck that did unfortunately lead to some contact in turn 3 on lap 1. Certainly not ideal for this man right here. He was looking to be up into these positions at the start of the race. Of course, he has returned to the P5 position now and is challenging for potential podium here today, which I'm sure he'll be very happy about. He's got 2 cars ahead of him. Just needs to figure out where he's got the advantage on track. Where can he find that extra time? Where are the cars in front slower? But he does have Martin Ulrich, silver class driver Aston Martin, in behind in the 41 car. And Martin Ulrich's just been slow and consistent, slow and steady. Not the fastest man out on track. He's still setting some great lap times, but slow and steady sometimes does win the race. In this case, it might be his day for Martin Ulrich. P2 currently in the Silver Championship for that man in the very dark red styled Aston Martin in behind, a very bright and yellow-blue Swedish style livery for Gardby here for Kara Motorsport. And Gardby, of course, not really running in a significant position for the pro category, but at the end of the day, all results do matter long term. Just trying to look up a little bit of a look up the inside there, just trying to keep himself in the mirrors of the Ferrari ahead. Pithaviers late on the brakes there, and does look like he's making a move. So will he get side by side? He will, but he will sensibly back out as we enter turn 2 and then into turn 3. That's not a place you can go side by side. without a lot of cooperation with the driver that you are trying to overtake. And of course, it's really only doable if you've got no driver behind you, because it just opens up the opportunity for the driver behind. So if Pithaviers had gone for the outside there, it would have been the outside of turn 3, and then he would have found that he would have had a fast yellow McLaren coming up the inside and just sneaking around and taking the P4 position away from him. Of course, last season, Pithaviers was in the silver category, getting an upgrade now into pro category, and obviously doing well. The man has had speed all the way through his silver championship career in season 10, and now able to come here in season 11 and join the pro category, and obviously putting on a pretty decent show here for all of us. But this man right here, I suspect he'll be getting a pro badge for next season as well, because Martin Ulrich is looking very, very fast. Speaking of the leaders of our silver category, and we have had another overtake here. Manuel Novak, has been overtaken as well. And oh, we've got Canton's got a drive-through penalty. So Canton for speeding in the pit lane there. Not something you want to do. A great livery, unfortunately, tried to save a little bit of too much time in the pit lane. I've had word that Terence Keenan will not be returning to the race today, unfortunately. So formerly P3 in this race, the 78 car has decided that is going to be it. For now, he's running dead last, has been sitting in the pits now for nearly 10 minutes in this race. Michael... Oh, excuse me there. My nose started to twitch, and unfortunately, the autonomic nervous system decided that it wanted to react to the twitch in my nose with a little bit of a sneeze there. So excuse me very much. I apologize for that coming through on the stream. Michael Firth, who is leading the Silver Championship overall this season, some great performances under his belt, will be a little bit worried that Martin Ulrich is running up now in P6. Has done his pit stop though, so he will be running to the end. Just needs to keep it really, really clean, put in some good lap times, and he is running at actually a very, very good pace in the 135. So is running faster than his championship competitor in Martin Ulrich, but will need to do that consistently for the next 46 minutes. Otherwise, he's going to be in a bit of trouble. Back up into the lead of this race, and Sucheki has not let Nopek run away with it. The gap was at a zenith of about 1.3 seconds out on track. That gap now back down to about 0.5 of a second, so getting back into the range. Now, the strategies here will be interesting to see. Usually the drivers out on track will try and half the strategy. 60 minutes total, so you go 30 minutes with 30 minutes on each stint, with a pit stop, of course, being mandatory, so they do have to come into the pits. But at this stage, neither of these two will be coming in anytime early. We've got, I think, now 5 drivers out on track who have made their pit stop. That includes Alex Zakdal, involved in the earlier contact. Did take a slightly slower pit stop to repair a bit of damage. Julian Smith has just had a major issue. Oh, yeah, ouch. Okay, so that's out at turn 10 there. Looks like he's had a bit of a spinning out. Might have been involved with Canton. No, I don't think he was. Canton here, of course, is now a bit blue flagged. He's going to have this gaggle of cars fighting for the P3 positions. It looks like D'Angelo has managed to find a way back up, so we have unfortunately missed that as well. But D'Angelo now taking the P3 spot. No, that's where he was originally, so my bad. There's no change to this gaggle of cars here at all. But if we go through the gaps here, P3 sitting just about a second, just under a second away from P4. P5 in Garby sitting only about 0.3 of a second behind Pithaviers. Then it's 0.7 of a gap back to Martin Ulrich. Then Gallo sitting 0.7 of a second, or just under a second, I should say, to Ulrich. And then P8, 0.7 back. Then the gap is back to P9, 3.8 seconds down the road. So the top 5, or P3 through to P8, all running very, very close with each other out on track. And yes, that is a French flag. So for my correction earlier on, I missed that the blue part of that is in a different section. So I've got to correct myself on that, of course. I do apologize to Francois Tassin here. My bad. I don't know what the word for sorry is in French, because my French is pretty poor. It's a very much an excuse my French moment. And here we go, a big battle going on now. D'Angelo under a huge amount of pressure. Pithaviers is going to try around the outside into Tarzan in turn 1. Late on the brakes, they both go. Porsche doing pretty well there. Will there be a switcheroo from Pithaviers? This is what I was saying. It opens up the inside if you don't get that switcheroo going. and the order returns to as it was. It was a good opportunity there for Pitheviers. Oh, that is compromised him massively through turn 2, though. Missed the apex completely. Garby's trying to find a way through, but this is single file through this section. Really, it's sector 2 and sector 3 where you do get the opportunity to overtake, where the track does widen up quite significantly. But those first few corners really is a single file area. Unless you can get the move done convincingly into turn 1 under the brakes, you will not find a way past, generally speaking, unless you're able to risk it around the outside with no traffic behind you. Sadly for Pitheviers, that is not the case. But look at this gaggle of cars here. This is P3, P4, P5, P6, P7 and P8. So 6 cars involved in this. Pitheviers all looking for a send there. Nearly had the move done. Forces the Porsche of D'Angelo onto the outside of the track, and they're going to go side by side down into turn 11. Pitheviers will have the outside of the track. That's not going to be ideal for him. D'Angelo will defend up the inside. No switcheroo possible there as we head into a second carousel. My favorite part of the circuit here in turn 12. Beautiful section, great for viewing if you're in the grandstands, as the lights on the car do go on and the sun does finally disappear. And we're going into nighttime racing here for the last part of this race. 10:22 p.m. out on track. Optimum conditions out there. No rain on the horizon or the forecast, which I'm sure is good news for most of the drivers out there today. On the rear wing now of D'Angelo as we head down into Tarzan. This gaggle of cars still going at it. A bit of action happening in the background. I believe that was Martin Ulrich. No, that was in fact Kessa Tarash there, possibly Alex Zakdal, who has been blue flagged in this situation. No change to the lead of this race either, so we're going to stay on board with this battle at the minute. D'Angelo doing his best and doing some great defensive driving out there to hold off the attacks of Pitheviers. The key part here, and it's exactly what D'Angelo has been doing, is hold the inside line. If you really hold the inside line here, there's not a lot that the driver behind can do on the outside, because there is just such little grip. As I said before, the track does widen up in sector 2 and sector 3, so there's plenty of opportunities to go side by side. We're into one of those opportunities right now as we head through turn 9, box 9 and then box 10. Wide track, lots of opportunities extended up the inside, but there is really no grip on the outside of the circuit. You have to be really running on the racing line. You'll find yourself nearly spinning out the car. It's possibly what happened to a few earlier on in this race, as you go in there, and if you're on cold tires in cold conditions like this and on the outside of the track, there is no grip. You put the power down and that car will suddenly be finding itself not happy with the rear end. Pitheviers has another little look as we head into the final 2 corners. Kumho here. That's an issue though for Pitheviers. Oh, he's really compromised himself into the final corner. Side by side will Garby go. He'll be on the outside line as we head down the pit straight for these two. So currently Garby does technically slip just a few millimeters ahead, but Pitheviers will have the braking line on the inside. The Ferrari, oh, a little bit of out braking there for Pitheviers, does make contact with Garby and forces them to the outside of the track. I was going to say the Ferrari here will usually win that battle in terms of the braking zone. Tassin's just had an issue here. We will take a look at that with the 128 car, if at all possible. Looks like that has not come up on my replay screen, sadly, unfortunately. So we will stay on board with this battle. But Pitheviers here and the Ferrari will 99 corners out of 100 be able to outbrake a McLaren. The McLaren is usually much better with holding apex speed into the corner. The Ferrari usually having to sacrifice a little bit of that apex speed. That's where the car does get a little bit unstable, unfortunately, and it has a lot of power on exits, so sometimes hard to turn down the power. Oh, it's a huge issue. Oh, no! Oh, we've had a huge bit of contact here. Pitheviers loses it at turn 8. And he has come onto the track a little bit out of control and taken Garby out. Both of them drop down, and Garby will be in P5 now, but Pitheviers has dropped nearly to the back of the grid. Let's take a little look at that on the replay now. The 211 car here, as you can see, I was just saying that the car, the Ferrari, can be very dodgy on the accelerator and really has a lot of power at its disposal. Gets a little bit unsettled there, puts the power down, and on the grass, the car goes round. He's on the brakes as much as possible, so you can't fault him there. He was a passenger at that point, and sadly goes straight and into the back of Garby. A slight bit of contact there led to a huge incident for these two. Very unfortunate for that man right then. And we've got some pits happening in this top 10 group now as well. It looks like Pithaviers will also come into the pits as we end up just under 39 minutes remaining in this race. Massive drama here. And, you know, Pithaviers there, unfortunately, he did make that mistake, but he was unfortunately just a passenger in that. He was holding his brakes. As soon as you get onto the grass, though, really the car does not want to turn, slow down, and the car just sort of turned around, a bit of a spin. And unfortunately for him, unfortunately for Garby, he was an innocent bystander in that. He had a moment of elation as he saw Pithaviers spin out, said, yes, this is my moment. And then he thought he was through the corner. Sadly, Pithaviers then re-entered the track, and it was basically all she wrote, sadly, for him. But Garby did manage to maintain P5, so a good recovery from Garby, and he'll be in chase now with this situation. So he's P5 behind Martin Ulrich, who's been having a steady, slow but steady race. That is a blue flag, bit of traffic ahead of them right now. I believe that is Canton. Yes, it is. I'm just checking the relative timing there, just to make sure I get the right car. So Canton bottlenecking this. He should be getting out of the way soon, because he is blue flagged out on track. And I will expect Martin Ulrich and Garby to be sending it and getting it past this man as soon as possible, because it is slightly holding them up as Canton does touch the gravel on the exit of the final corner once again. And this is going to be interesting because that is, I believe, if I have to got to correct myself, that is Zach Dahl. So we've got blue flag traffic and then a top runner in P4. So this just goes to show you the slow and steady approach here from Martin Ulrich has been working out, and he's leading the silver category right now. Another in the silver category doing very well out here is Casa Tarash. Tricky situation for Martin Ulrich to be in. Really, at the end of the day, Canton should be getting out of the way of that Aston Martin sooner rather than later, and then Alex Zakdal would be wanting to unlap himself from the P4 position in Martin Ulrich. So a little bit of a complex situation going on here between these three drivers. Just as long as it doesn't come to blows, that's the most important thing at the end of the day. Of course, that is P3. Sorry, that is not Canton. I've got that completely mixed up. That is for position. That's why Alex Zakdal will not be going past anytime soon, and why Canton is not getting out of the way, because he doesn't have to, because that's not Canton. That is, in fact, D'Angelo. So, sorry, my relative's timing sheet there, unfortunately, just giving me a little bit of a mix-up of the information on my screen. No, that is all the 57 car going very deep out of turn 10. Not ideal. That'll compromise him on the run down towards turn 11. Does go defensive on the inside line. Zach Dow trying to unlap himself from this battle. He doesn't want to be involved in it at all. Sadly, he is involved. I think it's a good idea for these two just to let him pass and let him go. He's a fast contender. He will be able to get out of their range in no time at all. Martin Ulrich being very patient behind P3. Slow and steady wins the race, and he is being the patient hunter in this situation right now. So I've got to give him my hats off to him on that. He's putting all sorts of pressure onto D'Angelo and waiting essentially for D'Angelo to make a mistake. And I think that's quite an important situation here. Of course, he is a silver driver in Martin Ulrich, so he doesn't need to make his way past it. He is leading the silver championship drivers right now. Next person back to him is Kotka and then Casa Tarash, who have just come into the pits. Sorry, Casa Tarash into the pits. So a little bit of pressure taken off there. Kotka does go up into the P2 position for silver category. But at the moment, can't take it away from Nopek. He's been running a superfluous race. There's absolutely nothing wrong with what he is doing at all. Leading this race away with a good lap time under his belt to hold fastest lap. And he's got a 3.3 second gap to Sacheki. Sacheki will not be happy with that. Of course, he does want to win this race, although, you know, he's got 4 wins under his belt right now. 5 wins, sorry, under his belt right now in this season. No, sorry, correction. 4 wins under his belt right now in this season. And Alex Zakdal, who's running back in P23, P24, is his next championship contender. So Sacheki really just needs to take it easy today out there. Benjamin Eck, P3 in the pro category. Overall, not here today at this race, so it looks like he'll be taking that as a drop round at the end of the season. Hopefully we'll see him back for Indianapolis next week, so make sure you do join us for that. Vela has picked himself up, Marco Vela has picked himself up a stop-go 30 for SBQ. He'll be absolutely gutted with that. He'll have to serve that in the next few laps. I'm not 100% sure what that might have been for. Some side-by-side action down the bottom of the grid. Alan Brown, the legend who ran Indianapolis all by himself for I believe it was 8 hours or 12 hours. Unbelievable effort. This man is so passionate about sim racing and so passionate about good racecraft out there. Always see good racing from this man right here. He's an incredibly defensive driver, but he does so well. He's got some pace on him as well. He's done his pit stop out there under a lot of pressure from the car behind in Jadabal. But just driving nice and defensively, running his own race. Look at that, just taking the inside line, just covering off Jadabal in every section of this race. Currently running P21 overall. Has gained technically 4 positions, but had gained 12 before he jumped into the pit. So we'll see that unravel itself. Currently running behind Novak. And only about 2.5 seconds up the road. Pithaviers now trying to make a bit of a comeback drive here. So Louis Pithaviers, who I probably call Dutch as well. There you go. Don't broadcast when it's early in the morning and you've had nearly no sleep. That's definitely not a good combination here. And of course, I do have to mention that I am broadcasting to you all live from New Zealand. That is where I'm from. I'm standing in for John Wright today as part of Raven Comms. He's got a few other things on this morning, so he's not able to commentate on this round of the GT3 Masters here at FRL. And we're coming up to halfway distance, so we will be running through some housekeeping items momentarily, but it is myself, George Cook, in the commentary box, making a bit of a return here for the FRL Masters. So I was the lead commentator for FRL Masters during the Season 10 broadcasts. We had a lot of fun, some great racing out on track in Season 10, and lovely to be back in Season 11 to make a singular one and only reappearance here in the FRL GT3 Masters. Of course, it is a pleasure, and hats off to the FRL chaps, Mehdi, James Williams, all doing fantastic work in the background of things. Lots of expansion going on in FRL, gotta respect it, and they're obviously doing incredibly well. One of the biggest leagues out there in the SimGrid communities. They've also done quite well recently in the VCO SimGrid Grand Finals, as well as making an appearance, I believe, in some of the ADAC sim racing competitions. So a lot of the drivers who frequent the FRL calendar are out there making some pretty significant waves in the sim racing communities worldwide. 15-second penalty for causing a collision for Gardby. That is a huge slap on the wrist, but that is not going to be the only one out there. Alan Brown has also been pinged. So here I was saying how clean of a driver he is, but unfortunately he's been slapped with a 20-second penalty for causing a collision. I suspect some more penalties going to be doled out in the next few laps as we do approach halfway distance. The 33.28 car in Longdon also getting, I think, about a 10-second penalty for contact as well. No, it's just a 5-second penalty for this man right here. So the penalties being doled out, the stewards. We're figuring this all out now. A lot of the chaps out on grid have been given, have done their pit stop. I was about to say have been given themselves a penalty. No, that's not the case. They got handed a pit stop and given themselves a penalty. No, a lot of them have taken the pit stop now and have been handed a penalty. 10 seconds there for 789 car. Gassatarash also coming into blows with that, as we do see another car coming into the pits. Only 8 out on track now to do their pit stop. Ulrich has come into the pits now, to the pit lane, being graced with the presence of this man right here. So that leaves 6 out on track, and a stop code 10 has been applied for causing a collision, the 328 car. So massive penalties being given out here for Nigel Longdon of Long Smile Racing. I'll see if I can find anything out on track. The 328 car. See if we can find a replay of anything that's gone on with him. I think that was much earlier in the race. Sadly, the replay is no longer available. Into the pits comes Zhuig here. He's having a bit of a recovery drive, which has been going reasonably well so far. Garby has come out of the pits with that 15-second penalty, though. It's going to really hurt him as we do head through the halfway mark in this round 6 here at Zandvoort for the GT3 Masters on Season 11 of FRL. So I think it's time for a few housekeeping items. Of course, Pure Sim Gear as are the sponsors of this series here, so a big thank you to them. Of course, they are dedicated to designing the best sim racing gear out there on track. Oh, and just to create a little bit of a side train there from our sponsorship information, Amir Kasatarash has unfortunately had a big spinneroo there, avoiding action being taken by Alan Brown, getting right out of the way and going the short but slower distance across the track, nearly avoiding barrier contact there as well. Really unfortunate for him. But yes, Pure Sim Gear, of course, dedicated to designing the best sim racing gear out there on the market. They've kindly provided prizes for us. And sorry, I did have the advert running while that little bit of action was out there on track. We will get a replay of that in just a moment. They are providing prizes for the Pro and Silver category. You can use a special code on their website, simracinggloves.com. Capital F, friends of capital FRL 15 for a discount at checkout. So do check those guys out. They are absolutely awesome. Let's see if we can find a replay of what's happened here to Assetto. And I will bring that prizes off. Oh dear, yeah. So he's just gone very wide out of turn 2, dipped some toes onto the grass, and then he's been absolutely stuck there. The stop-go has been cleared for the 328 car now, so that will not be in effect any longer, but a 5-second penalty still hanging over that man. Running very long into the race, but finally it is time for Sochecki to come into the pits. Nopek has come into the pits already. Vergaway as well in the pits too. That leaves Robinson out there, the last of the drivers out on track to go into the pit lane. So this Moser Racing livery sort of what kind of green would you call this? Sort of like a candy teal of some kind, I suspect. So Robinson will be the last man out there to come into the pits and looking to try and find maybe a shorter stint out there. Of course, you can do a shorter stint at the start, 15 or 10-15 minutes, and then do a 45-minute run. Or you can do that in the opposite as well, run out there for 45 minutes and then run a quick stint at the end. But of course, that is our leader in Nopek right behind him. This is going to be key to keep an eye on now. Nopek coming through the last couple of corners in this race. Sochecki still in the pits. Will he have gained anything in the pit time? We will see. Nopek has had a slow pit stop for 34.7. He's coming down the main pit straight right now. Sochecki does come out of the pits. I don't think this is going to be enough, but it might just close up the gap a little bit. Nopek goes on through, and the gap will remain, but it is slightly down. So Sochecki, no, it's actually a very good pit stop for Sochecki. He's gained a bit of time there on Nopek. Lewis Robinson provisionally leading this race, so has no need to get out of the way of Nopek. So this will be slowing down Nopek. This is a great opportunity for Sochecki in this race, because he is going to be chasing down the man ahead and seeing if he can find a way to get past on board with Sochecki. Yes, you can see just out in the front mirror. Looks like Robinson has in fact now gotten out of the way, or definitely run a bit of a wider line through turn 7 there. Into turn 8 and 9 we go. Yes, Nopek has managed to find a way through, so now it's going to be up to Sochecki. Can he do the same? He's going to be absolutely critical for him to do so as soon as possible to maintain the gap that he has reduced to Nopek and maybe challenge for a victory here. But as I mentioned earlier, Sochecki, he's under no obligation and no requirement at all to make any sort of major effort to make up positions in this race. Even if he runs P2 right now, he will have the advantage still with 4 wins under his belt in this season. So not going to be a lot here that's going to stop this man on his charge to a pro victory in season 11. I'm sure he'll be absolutely stoked with that, but just got to be a little bit cool, calm, collected and calculated here throughout the remaining part of this season. And certainly this race is indicative of that. No need for him to go and take too many risks in his charge for Nopek, who's clearly just got the pace at the moment. This man right here absolutely got the pace on him. He's found pace in qualifying. He's found pace out on track. He's found the overtakes there. The Mercedes looking pinned to the ground, eating up the curbs here at Zandvoort as we head now towards 10:30 or 9 or 10:40 p.m. out on the Zandvoort circuit track time. Things have remained a pretty stable 12 degrees out there, though, so this is good for the drivers, able to stay consistent. The conditions not really changing out there at all. Lewis Robinson does now come into the pits. Did get a little bit mixed up with these two. Was provisionally leading the race. It's a nice feeling to lead the race provisionally. I can tell you that, having done that myself under a number of circumstances. And you go, yes, I'm leading the race. I know that it's not going to last. Of course, it never does for drivers of my caliber. You go up into the lead for a few laps, you go, yeah, I'm leading a race. And then you do a pit stop, or the leaders find you on the next lap, and you go, right, time to get out of the way. Time to move out of the way. This is not my place. It was nice to be here. You know, it's almost like visiting a fancy hotel or, you know, one of those really, really luxury places that most of us cannot afford to go to every single night. You go, wow, this is really, really nice. Right, now back to McDonald's for our next meal, or back into our kitchens to make ourselves food. As it is, But that's sometimes what makes it nice. If I was running up there in the lead lap, I think I'd be a very stressed out person. I think I'd have a few more grey hairs on my head. New fastest lap there set by Thomas Nopek. Goes across the line for a 1:34.960. But Stachecki has really closed up this gap quite significantly. He's found a bit of time out there. Does not take fastest lap away from Nopek. But this might be getting a little bit closer than we think here. A bit of blue flag traffic in between them now. It's Vela in the Ferrari, so Stachecki will be giving them the flashing lights and saying, please, please, please move out of the way as soon as possible. You're costing me time in this battle. And that's indeed what is happening for this man right here. Through the S as we go, he'll get a little bit of a slipstream here. That's always useful. And the question is, how fast can Vela be? Of course, Vela is a pro driver, so will not be a slow contender out on track, as Smith does take a bit of an extra I was about to try and say something clever, but I suppose I'll redact that. He's found the gravel trap out there, so he's gone a little bit wide at turn 7, the high speed turn 7. Tricky corner to get right under some circumstances. Novak nearly had an overtake there on Dewig as well. And then Kesa Tarash is also in a bit of a battle here. Fortunately, a 10-second penalty hanging over the head of this man, and he will not be a happy chappy. But let's run through our championship standings in terms of category and see who's who and who's where. Nopek, of course, leading us away. P1, P2 is Stachecki, Gardby in P3, but Bisoglio, he is going to be potentially up into P3, a podium position potentially for this man right here, because he's only 2.5 seconds behind Gardby as it stands right now. And at the end of this race, 15-second penalty will be applied. Time penalty will be applied to Gardby's overall race time. That's going to drop him down outside of the top 5 as it stands right now. So Gardby's got a lot of work to do if he's going to bring the gap. Then running in P5, Martin Ulrich. He's been having a beautiful session here. He's just pipped into the 35s out there on lap time, so found a little bit of time later on this race. Oh, we've got a major issue here. Alan Brown resetting to the pits with Vergaway as well. So the 971 car, let's take a little look at this on our action replay. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay, so Alan Brown in the 738 cars had a massive issue. Let's see if we can get another replay of what's happened here with this man. So through they go. He's run onto the gravel there and oh, just clipped into the side of the barrier. My goodness. We are going to take another view of that. Let's have a little look at what this looked like on board for this man. Whoa, dear me. Okay. Alan Brown, I feel like I may have cursed this man here, because I was saying over and over how clean he was driving today, and unfortunately he's made just one too many mistakes, and that was a big one though. The car being sent sideways, doing a 45-degree tilt, bit of breakdancing there for his Aston Martin. Into the pits he goes, and looks like he will be sitting there for the moment. Hopefully we do see him back out on track. Longdon does go up into P26. Julian Smith has had a bit of an issue as well. Looks like he's just slowing down to let a few cars pass on the straight, which is fair enough. Stachecki is actually now, unfortunately, starting to lose time to Nopek ahead. Whether that's due to blue flag traffic or not, we will find out. But not able to really find the pace at the moment. His last lap of 34.865. But Nopek currently running in the 34.5s at the moment. So doing incredibly well, incredibly fast out there on track. Nopek wants a victory under his belt here in season 11, in the 6th race of the season. Of course, Nopek is currently running P7 in the overall championship. He has had both round 3 and round 5 being dropped because he wasn't there to participate. He got P2 in the final and in the race last time out at Alton Park. So a great drive for him. He's obviously a fast contender, but unfortunately he's just not able to, has not been able to participate in enough of this season to really be in there. Usually we'd see him up the pointy end of the championship standings. Would probably have been past Benjamin Eck, who's currently running P3 overall and not attending this time out at Zandvoort. 19 minutes, 30 seconds remaining on the clock right now. The battles are evolving all the way around track as the strategies do start to coalesce. This man right here, Jadabal, in the sort of lightning green, I would call it, or dark green, army green, I think we would call this, the army green McLaren for TJ Racing. It's Timothy Jadabal, TJ Racing, running his own little team and team livery there. He's running pretty close in behind Oliver Jewig, though. Jewig is pretty much one of the last pro drivers out there on the grid, bar Alex Zakdal, who had a shocker at the start of this race, did Alex Zakdal. Sent him right to the back of the grid. He's been recovering ever since. But Jadabal right on the back of another McLaren of Jewig, and then we've got Pereira as well, running just ahead of them. So these three cars in a bit of a squabble right now. And two pro drivers, and then Jadabal in behind P3 at the moment in the silver class. I was going to go through the top three of the silver class drivers here today. Martin Ulrich, of course, leading us away in P5 at the moment overall. Kotka in P2 in silver class, but running P10. So that's two silver class drivers in the top 10 right now. They'll both be very, very happy with this, but Pithavias will be making a charge. He wants that P10 position back. He was actually potentially in for a P3 in this race with Pithavias. And then Jadabal rounding out the top three silver category drivers, but only a second down the road is Novak. So this P3 spot here, and all the points associated with it, definitely under contention here between Jadabal and Novak. Kotka and Martin Ulrich are basically guaranteed their P1 and P2 slot in the silver drivers category here today. So definitely one to keep an eye on in this race. So the mandatory pit stop, of course, has been served now by everyone out on track. We'll keep an eye on this little bit of a battle. If you do have any questions, of course, do let me know. In chat here on YouTube, broadcasting for FRL. Always a pleasure to talk with those who are enjoying the broadcast and those who are racing. Don't text and drive, though. Do not YouTube chat and drive. I've seen some folks able to do that. I cannot do that, and I do not condone it. Focus on driving. That's going to be the most important thing. On board now with Louis Pithavias, and these two are in a bit of a battle. Kotka would be happy to be running up in the top 10, but we do know that Pithavias has got top 3 pace at the moment, so Kotka will be coming under additional pressure from the Ferrari driver in behind. Lots of Ferrari versus McLaren battles out there on track right now. Nice, though, to see both an Aston Martin in the top 5 of this race, and then a Mercedes AMG leading the battle. Very nice to see that the LFM bot doing such a good job here for all the leagues that are using it. We've used it in a few other leagues that I am a part of, and it just has made the racing so much more equal. So nice to see that the choice has been able to be returned to the drivers out there, those who want to use their favorite car that may have been, unfortunately, not a meta car for a number of patches in this game. We'll be seeing what happens with the default BOP as we do head towards a new update in ACC. For those who are living under a rock, Nürburgring Nordschleife has been officially confirmed for ACC in the upcoming patch. We don't know when this patch is going to be applied, but we're hoping to see a lot of 24-hour racing at the Nordschleife. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens out on track. Thomas Nopek leads us away in this race with 15 minutes now on the clock. 2.2 seconds the gap back to Sachecki. Not a huge amount happening out on track now. Tassin in a battle for P8 currently. Ewig still battling away, trying to get ahead of that Tyrannosaurus Rex live-read Porsche of Pereira in front of him. And the battle between Jadabal and Novak going to be kicking off at some point as well in this race. As you can see, on board now the rear wing of Jadabal, and he is, under a little bit of pressure, I think. And does run a couple of tyres onto the outside of the track at the final corner. It's not going to do him any favours, but it hasn't lost him any time there. It looks like the BMW very, very good on its brakes into turn 1. Finding a lot of time. Now caught up to within 0.5 of a second. So this battle for Silver Class, this is the final P3 position in Silver Class drivers here that Jadabal, who we're on board with, is holding on to. Novak, very keen to get that position. That's going to be worth a lot of points. And of course, right now, Jadabal ahead in the overall standings from Novak. Novak looks like he's a lot further down the grid. I can't actually see his name. He's running P21 in the overall standings. So this is much more significant for Jadabal to be in for a good result here, as that is going to throw him up. He's currently running P6 in the championship right now. Finished best result was a P2 in round 3. P10 last time out at Oulton Park for this man we're on board with right now. 205 points. So a P3 here will shoot him up past Lewis Robinson and potentially Vela as well. Looks like Vela might have been, yeah, Vela is quite far down the grid. So this could be really good for Jadabal, getting a P3 finish in the silver category. Worth a lot of points out there. Of course, there is points available for the fastest lap in each of the categories too. Or nearly dips a tire there on the 12th corner. That certainly won't be doing him any favors in terms of grip out there. Got to be a little bit careful. Oh, big send there from Novak. He's really getting keen now. He knows that he is faster into Tarzan at turn 1. And he is looking to take advantage of that situation, and that's a really smart driving there. This is how you do the overtakes. Spend a couple of laps behind someone, especially at Zandvoort. Find out where they're strong, where they're weak. And fortunately for the McLaren of Jadabal, and typical of McLaren's, not particularly great on the brakes, got really good apex speed and good corner exit. The BMW does suffer on those two things, but obviously very, very good into the corners and has great, and I mean really great top speed down the straight. Of course, that is only effective in one part of the circuit here, so the McLaren is kind of advantage McLaren for 90% of this circuit, with the BMW able to get the ability to make the overtake potentially into turn 1. That is car 15 getting a 5-second penalty there. Car 15 is Stuart Packman. So Stuart Packman getting a bit of a slap on the wrist there from the stewards. Let's see, was there something I can pull up in terms of a replay? Let's double check. Doesn't look like there is. So that's obviously a situation from earlier on in this race. More BMW action here. Lewis Robinson on Canton. This is for the P16 position, in behind Novak about 8 or 9 seconds, or just under 9 seconds. The gap from Lewis Robinson, from Canton up to Novak. So it does put them a little bit out of range of getting a top 3 finish in the silver category, but still not a bad result overall for these two guys. And very, very close one again for Jadabal, under a lot of pressure. Again, that was the entry into turn 1. So that is where Jadabal is losing a lot of his time. He'll have to keep a very close eye on that. Maybe just take a shorter angle and really be off turn 1 to cover off any kind of move that the BMW of Novak in behind can make. That's going to be absolutely key for him in the final few laps of this race. 11 minutes on the clock now, and it is proper night time out there. Garbi in P3 still not able to pull out the gap that he needs to hold on to a podium position. So it is advantage Bisoglio here, who's only running 1.8 seconds behind the McLaren ahead of him. So almost guaranteed to be a third position overall for this man right here. He'll be stoked with that. Doesn't need to make any moves, doesn't need to take any risks out on track. And he is completely in his element at this stage. Garbi will be ruining the contact that he had earlier on in this race. And we did see some replays of that. I suspect that is from a turn 1 contact. Of course, he did get spun out by Pithaviers, who made a huge mistake into turn 8, dipped some tires onto the outside of the track, spun himself round and was a passenger, and just ever so light tap, but at the wrong angle for Garbi. And unfortunately was Garbi who was then spun out, but was able to recover very, very nicely. Same couldn't be said for Pithaviers, who's running now finally up into the top 10, does manage to find his way past Kotka, who has picked himself up a 5-second penalty. Now that is a big development. Very, very important here. So that is not Kotka, but this is a nice little battle going on here. Saberla being pressured now from Tassin. But Kotka here, so he has picked up a 5-second penalty in this race. Pereira is only 7 seconds down the road. And then you've got Ewig and Jadabal and Novak. Novak has actually slipped off the back of Jadabal. Jadabal here could be potentially in range of getting within that 5-second gap. Kotka is going to need to really put the foot down the latter part of this race if he's going to cover off Jadabal from taking P2 in the silver championship, silver class away from him. Of course, Kotka is running fairly well up there in the standings, P4 overall, and with Vela and Firth way down the grid, Kotka could also be looking at making a jump up the standings. Will at least be taking P3 in the overall Silver Championship standings if he does finish P2 in the Silver category today. But Jadabal, he's slowly making the time up here. The pack that is P13, P14, P15, and P12 have already cut about 0.3 of a second out of the time to Kotka ahead. They're going to be looking to make a bit of a late charge in this race, I suspect, as we head towards the final 8.5 minutes of this race. Do want to focus on this little bit of a battle. Tassin here, right on the back of Saberla. Saberla under all sorts of pressure now. It's McLaren versus Ferrari. I said a battle that has been raging on at tracks like this, and in the default BOP that ACC does provide, this is also a battle that does happen quite often. And it is corner speed and exit speed versus corner braking and corner entry braking and exit speed. It's a great little battle. I've always loved, I'm a McLaren driver myself, I always love these battles out on track with Ferrari drivers. They're always good fun. I always get terrified on corner entry as I see a Ferrari fly into my rear vision mirror, which is exactly what we're seeing here from Tassin. Gets a little bit of a tank slapper on the exit, trying to get the power down. That is part of the problem with the Ferrari. Has to run very high TC in order to keep the rear end of that car stable. And as you can see, the McLaren does tend to have the advantage in the middle of the apex. Depends on how much speed the Ferraris are able to carry into the corner. That is the critical factor in all of this. But so far, Tassin not able to make any real headway here on Saberla. So we will come back to that battle a little bit later on. Jadabal and Novak battle does continue to rage on, but about 1.6 seconds is the gap now. Novak is really slipping off the back of Jadabal as Juwig and Pereira ahead do put the foot down. Luckily for Kotka, though, he has found some pace out on track. So that gap now returning to about 7 seconds on track, and well out of the penalty range for that 5-second penalty for the 802 car. But P12 now for Pereira. But he has got some very fast contenders behind him. Three-way battle that will rage on to the end of this race. Another battle going on here, Saberla and Tassin. I think they might be getting pretty close to the rear end of Gallo here. So Kiko Gallo from the Eagles Esports 444 car, Spaniard, out on track. Spaniard's having a lot of success in motorsports of late. Looks like this man is going to be one of them today, running up in the top 10 positions, P7 currently. He's got to hold off Saberla and Tassin for the next few laps. Otherwise, he's going to be losing that good result. He won't slip out of the top 10, but you certainly don't want to be slipping into the range of Pithaviers. We know is a very fast contender. Pithaviers has been slowly but surely catching up to this battle pack ahead. But Zandvoort, not an easy place to overtake out on track at all. Very, very difficult scenario for them to be in. And of course, without the ability to really put the foot down in a lot of these corners, oh, excuse me, that does create limited overtaking opportunities. Single file basically for all of Sector 1. Track does open up, as I mentioned before, widens up in Sector 2, but then you get the Sector 3 here, and it's basically flat out corners where you do not want to be running side by side, because the only way to run these flat out is being on the racing line. So if you're off the racing line, yeah, good luck, have fun, because you're going to be pretty much forced off the track, or both of you are going to be incredibly slow through the corners. The gap at the front did momentarily return to under 2 seconds as Szczecki is finding some late race pace as slower laps now being put in by Tomasz Nopek. Of course, Tomasz did pit a little bit earlier than Krzysztof Szczecki, and that does mean that Szczecki will have the tyre advantage in the last 5 minutes of this race. So potentially there is something that Szczecki can do in this race. The gap now 1.8 seconds out on track and getting ever so closer. So Tomasz Nopek, after 55 minutes of racing out here in round 6, he's got all the work to do. He looks like he was completely in control for the most part in this race. But if Szczecki can really, oh, that was a bit too much curb there for the McLaren into turn 2. Does have a clean run through turn 3, and you can see the rear bumper getting ever closer. Nopek starting to fall back into the clutches of this McLaren. And the fastest man in qualifying was, of course, Krzysztof Szczecki. Put in an absolutely fantastic series of laps there, 34.3, I believe, for the pole position time. Nopek was only 16 hundredths of a second behind him in qualifying, so these two very much matched on pace. And I do wonder if Szczecki's just been taking it a little bit easy here today. He will get a good sum of points for his championship total, and he's sitting nearly 50 points, about 46 or so points off the P2 position in pro category. So the championship in pro category almost solidified at this stage, and with the P2 result here for Szczecki, and with Alex Zakdal so far down the grid having a major problem involved in a huge contact, getting tapped at the rear into turn 3 lap 1. Szczecki here is in a very comfortable position, not only in the championship but in this race, and doesn't have to make any moves. While the gap is definitely coming down, and Nopek is certainly finding less and less time out there on track, doesn't need to go for any kind of risky overtakes at this stage. Just needs to keep it nice, clean, smooth, and finish off this race with 3 minutes to go. That is going to be about 3 laps remaining in this race. Gallo's had a major issue. Gallo's had a major issue. He's off the track at turn 8 there, I believe that is. Yes, turn 8 had a major off. So let's try and find that for the 444 car, because he was running up there in P7 with a good result. So, takes too much curb there, unfortunately, at turn 8, and sends himself off into the gravel, lets the two who are running in behind him through, and that'll be P9 now for Gallo. Tassin and Saberla do go up, and they're very, very close out on track. Tassin is now a second, though, ahead of Gallo with that issue that Gallo had. Very unlucky there at the end of this race. And that is Louis Pithiviers. I did say he was going to be closing up to this battle. He has closed up massively to this battle. He's been consistently running 0.4, nearly 0.5 of a second faster per lap, and I think he's going to be having a go here. Let's have a little look. Rear view mirror, Pithiviers, looking up the inside to try and find the space. Gallo does cover that off nicely. Again, another Ferrari versus McLaren battle. So here we are again. Will the Ferrari be able to outbrake? And Pithiviers, a very, very fast contender, into the single line. One by one they go, part of the circuit. So Gallo will have to do a little bit more defending now. Pithiviers P10, but I was skeptical that he might be able to get up into the top 9 or 8 or so, but it's actually looking entirely possible for Pithiviers here, but he'll have to make the move happen, and he'll have to make it happen soon, or he's not going to have an opportunity to get past these drivers. As you can see, he's just so much better on the brakes, but with the slightly slower car into the brakes ahead of him. Big spin there from Pithiviers, but he sent it too hard. And unfortunately for him, he has sent himself off track there for the 211 car. Way too hard on that send. He really wanted to get it done, knew that he was going to be better on the brakes. That's the point at which the track opens up into turn 9, and he just sent it absolutely massively. Luckily, no contact. Gallo was savvy to the situation and had a feeling, I suspect, that he was going to have a big send from that man behind. So Pithiviers there, unfortunately, compromising his ability to get up into P9 position and maybe even a P8 or P7. So it will be pretty much a guaranteed position here. Gallo in P9, Pithiviers in P10. Kotke, of course, will be taking the P11, taking a 5-second penalty, which won't make any effect whatsoever. But with 38 seconds left on the clock, I don't believe our leaders will be coming across the line in time to start one more lap of this race. So this could be it. This could be potentially the final lap of this race. No, I think they will. They will come across the line for one more lap in this race. Nopek still holding off from Szczecki. I said this earlier in the race. Szczecki is not going to have to do anything massive here. He can take it nice and easy in this race. No worries. You got no worries. For the rest, it's the old Hakuna Matata. There we go. I'll remember it eventually. No worries here. Hakuna Matata for Szczecki in behind. I don't think he's going to mind a P2 finish in this race. Nopek, of course, wants to hold on for P2. The timer has ticked down. White flag is out. That does mean the race is now on the final lap. The leaders going round turn 3 for the last time in this hour-long race. The 6th round out of 7 in this GT3 Masters Season 11 here at FRL on the new YouTube channel. Nopek, what a race from him. Started in P2. Was able to make the move happen on lap 3 or 4, which we did miss because we weren't expecting it to happen. And Nopek just finding a way past Tacheki. And then since then, it's been the Nopek show. And Thomas Nopek for Mad Panda Motorsport, my favorite livery out on the grid, always with the top liveries out there and really demonstrating his skills. He's been out there on the scene worldwide on behalf of FRL. Was there in the VCO SimGrid Grand Finals, I believe, for some of the GT4 races, I think. And he was also, I think, out there for some of the ADAC Sim Community races too. So he's really been out there showing his skills and participating on behalf of FRL worldwide for competitions out there involving the SimGrid communities. And he's going to take home a victory today. Done absolutely fantastically well. Looks like Gallo's under a bit of pressure, but across the line and taking P1 in this race. Flashing his lights, it is Thomas Nopek. What a race from the Mad Panda Racing team here today. Will take victory in round 6 here at Zandvoort for the season 11 of the GT3 Masters. Tacheki does take P2 in this race, comes across the line. Gardby will take P3, but unfortunately it won't stay P3. He'll drop to P5 in this race. Bisoglio will take P4. Bisoglio will take a podium position here today. Garby comes across the line. The 15-second penalty will be applied. Bisoglio, P3 overall in this race. And that means Martin Ulrich will take P4 in this race and the silver class win. Congratulations to this man right here. What a stunning, paced, patient, calm, cool, collected race this man has had today. And he has really helped himself out and done himself a big favor in the silver championship today. What a race from this man. D'Angelo will take P4 overall. Will finish across the line P6. Saberla, then Tassin, then Gallo, and then Perseveres, who almost gets onto the back. Let's see, it's very close across the line we go, but Gallo will hold on at the end of this race. Perseveres will take P10. Kochke will come across the lap, and P2 overall, second place for Kochke in the McLaren. We'll have a 5-second penalty applied, but 7 seconds the gap back to Jewig, so it will not matter. Jadabal will hold on to P3 in this situation, so a great race here for Jadabal. He'll be stoked. That's really critical for him in the silver category. And there is your results. Let's take a little look at the final race results overall after the penalties have all been applied. Of course, Garby does drop down to P5 in this race. Nopek takes P1 in pro class to Tacheki, and then Bisoglio. So that's your top 3 in terms of pro category. Then in silver category, Martin Ulrich with a P4 overall. Nearly grabbed himself a P3 in this race, which would have been fantastic. Calm, cool, collected, as I said, a clean, safe race, done very, very well. Then, of course, we did have... I've fortunately managed to forget myself there. So good race overall. Yeah, a fantastic race overall. Well done. Tacheki doing some donuts for us. Oh, thank you for that. We do always appreciate that very, very much. But that is going to be your broadcast today for the GT3 Masters here in Season 11. That was, of course, round 6. And we are going to be heading next time out, December 14th. Tune in once again on the FRL YouTube channel. For Indianapolis, we're going to the Americas. It's going to be a lot of fun out there for the final. Subscribe and hit that notifications button. Gives you a notification when we do go live with more motorsport action, which of course, as I said, please do join us next week for the finale of season 11, rounding out the 2023 season here. The Pure Sim Gear GT3 Masters, of course, the FRL, a staple point of the championship, showcasing the best of what FRL has to offer. If you want to get involved, check us out on FRL on simgrid.com. We've got a Discord where everything goes on. Some fantastic organizers in James, William, Mehdi, and the team, all doing an incredible job to keep things organized in the background. A clean, calm, cool, and collected outfit are the FRL League. So do get involved if you like what you've seen today. Of course, another mention for our sponsors, Pure Sim Gear. Of course, they're dedicated to designing the best sim racing gear out there on the market, kindly providing prizes for the winners of the categories, some pro gloves and socks for the pro category winners, and a pair of pro racing gloves for the silver category winner overall. But that is going to be our coverage of the race tonight. Thank you very much all for tuning in tonight. Really appreciate it. My name, of course, is George Cook, standing in for John Wright on behalf of select what has gone on out there today. But yeah, a fantastic race there. Big thank you to everyone out on track. Big thank you to FRL, and a big thank you to all of you for jumping in today. It is much appreciated. So enjoy some final highlights as we do round out the stream. Thank you very much, and we will see you next time.